You know I've traveled near and far, see the shining sea. I've seen a lot of places, and people that were nice to me. One place I send my heart, and this is how I feel. I'm talking about my hometown, Fayetteville. She's nestled in the sand hills on a river called Cakefield. Special to so many who proudly served our country here. She was named for Lafayette and known for cotton mills. I'm talking about my hometown, Fayetteville. My hometown, Fayetteville. I'm so proud to be from here. It don't take long when you're away from home to find out how you feel. It's always good to come home to Fayetteville. Babe Ruth hit his first one, heard around the world. Sherman marched with the Union and burned the arsenal. Old Market House still standing, but stands for freedom's will. I'm talking about my hometown, Fayetteville. My hometown, Fayetteville. I'm so proud to be from here. It don't take long when you're away from home to find out how you feel. It's always good to come home to Fayetteville. My all-American city, Fayetteville. Talking about my hometown, Fayetteville.
Good evening and welcome to the October 24th specially called Fayetteville City Council meeting. I'd like to call the meeting to order and start with the invocation. Ask Miss Erica Griffin from the Living Stones Worship Center to come forward. Please come to the podium. If everybody would please stand for the invocation, remain standing for the Pledge of Allegiance. Thank you, Miss Griffin.
Let us pray. Dear Heavenly Father, we come before you this day, God. We give you glory, honor, and praise. Lord, we ask, God, that you will be in this meeting this evening, Father. God, we ask that you would look upon this council. God, in the name of Jesus, let everything be done decent and in order. God, let everything be said, God, fall on the ears of this council and the heart of this council, God. Lord, let them be receptive to the people. God, let them hear what the people have to say, God, and let everything be done in agreement, Father, for the upbuilding of Fayetteville in Jesus' name. And let everybody say amen. Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Miss Griffin, tell us something about your ministry and your church.
All right, well, I am the pastor of Living Stones Worship Center. We are a fairly new church plant here in Fayetteville, North Carolina. Right now, we are in our home, and we have come upon our third year, and this is the year that God said that we will step out and find a building so that we may continue building for His kingdom. The sole purpose of Living Stone is to bridge the gap between God and His righteous people with Jesus Christ. And our focal point, though, are the youth of today and tomorrow.
And where are you located?
2804 Gus Drive, Fayetteville, North Carolina.
And is that your new permanent home, or are you still looking for your new permanent home?
We are still looking for our new permanent home.
Great, great. And you have a Facebook page or website?
We are building our website right now, don't have a Facebook page. But if you would like to email us, the email is lsworshipcenter@gmail.com.
Well, thank you so much for joining us this
Thank
evening.
you, Mayor.
Absolutely. If at this time we could ask Mr. Hewitt and Mr. Bauer and Mr. Dietzen to come up to the podium.
Good evening, Mayor, members of council. As the mayor comes this way, I'd like to say that one of the things about being city manager that's very exciting is being able to welcome people to the city of Fayetteville at the beginning of their career. I wasn't here 35 years ago to do that with Jerry, but it's also, as being city manager, also have the distinction and also the displeasure at times of telling folks goodbye when they get ready to retire. But after 35 years of working for the city and working on behalf of its citizens, I can definitely say that we are a better organization and a better community because of your service. And it is for that reason that the mayor and the council members wanted to present you with this.
Thank you so
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Hey, do you know, congratulations on having your job. Do you remember how big the city was when you started?
I would say about half the size it is
Yeah,
now.
I think we've about doubled in size.
Yes, sir.
Well, congratulations again.
Thank you so much.
Enjoy it. Yes, sir.
Thank you very much.
You've earned it.
And if you would like to say a few words, and Christoph.
Thank you, Mayor and City Council. This is absolutely quite an honor, and thank you so very much for this. It's been my pleasure over the years to serve the city, and I feel that if I had always just kept the citizens' best interest at heart, then I would do a good job with what I did on a day-to-day basis. And I believe I did that and carried that through my career. Thank you so much.
Now, Mr. Dietzen, tell us a little bit, because you didn't start in environmental services, right?
That's correct. I started with the engineering department, which was just called the engineering department back then, under Mr. Bob Bennett, and who's still practicing engineering, by the way. And I went from there to Parks and Recreation and worked there for 17 years, and then came to environmental services. Yes, sir.
We are a better organization because of you. Thank you, sir.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
And if I could ask Eagle Scout Aaron Bartlett to come up front. Councilmember Bobby Hurst is going to recognize you.
I was a Boy Scout growing up. I didn't make it certainly as far as Aaron did. Eagle Scout is quite an honor. It's the highest award for the Boy Scouts of America. However, I did start the Boys Ministry Royal Rangers, and our highest honor is Gold Medal of Achievement. We didn't have very many boys get to that level, but when they did, they were exemplary and also role models for other boys. And you and your family live in Chalmer McDougal his district, but because of my relationship with Boy Scouts, I wanted to come down and present this, our city coin, to you. Chalmers McDougall, Chet McDougall, with you as well, to congratulate you and tell you how proud we are as the city council and the citizens of Fayetteville are for your achievements. Thank you very much. We're going to give you a chance to say a few words to everybody on TV. No?
Keep up the good work, man.
Thank you. And thanks to your mom and dad for the great work that you did in raising a boy like you have in this young man. So thank you. Congratulations. Thank you so much.
Mr. Bartlett, what was your Eagle project?
We built gates at Clark Park to stop people from going down the side.
How long did that take you to do?
About 4 to 6 hours.
That's great. Great project. Thank you. The city thanks you. Mr. Reinstein, if you will come to the podium along with Ms. Rogers Carter. Mayor Pro Tem has some awards for Certificate of Excellence in Performance Management from the International City County Management Association. We know it as the ICMA. Fayetteville is among only 34 jurisdictions receiving this Certificate of Excellence. It's the highest award for excellence in reporting and analyzing data and fostering the development of a data-driven culture, which we have come to do in the city of Fayetteville over the past 2 or 3 years. The city of Fayetteville is only one of 2 cities in North Carolina to receive this award. The ICMA's recognition validates the city's efforts to lead the nation in performance measurement and continuous improvement and community engagement. Mr. Reinstein, you want to talk more about the awards?
I'm going to say a few things before I ask Rebecca to come up, but
Any factoids?
no factoids. But I will say this, what's really impressive is that last year we received a Certificate of Distinction, which was the second highest level. This year, under Rebecca's leadership and our great gold champions, who I want to mention, and they are Chief Ben Major, Jim Palanek, Rob Stone, Kelly Blasey, Dwayne Campbell, and Kevin Arata. Without their support and Rebecca's leadership, we wouldn't be taking this award to the highest level. Again, one of only 2 in the state of North Carolina, and I think you said 34 in the country. So we're doing some great things. We're taking it to the next level, and I'll let Rebecca say a few words.
I'll be pretty quick. I just wanted to say thank you. It's an honor to be recognized by the ICMA, but also by our city council members this evening. And while we as city staff, we work really hard to make sure that we're integrating the process and doing what we can to make sure it's effective, it is really the engagement with the residents with this system, and then also with the leadership of city council and the city manager's office. All the support of the SMT members you see here this evening and the performance measurement staff that actually work the program, that team is what really brings home the success. So I have to mention that. It's not just our office, it's everyone here at the City of Fayetteville. It's a culture that we instill, and we're going to keep moving forward with that. That being said, I want to just mention Chris McMillan. He's not able to be here this evening, but I do want to thank him for his dedication. He has been the project lead on this project, and without his support, we would not have reached this level this quickly. Because again, we've transitioned about 2-3 years ago. This is our 3rd full year, and this is a big accomplishment. And finally, all this performance measurement data and budget data and strategy updates and all of that, well, that's going to come online here pretty soon in City of Fayetteville's TrackStat program. And we're looking forward to launching that in the fall, and we're working really hard to prepare to present that information to City Council at the November work session. So with that, I'll just say thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Rogers Carter. We appreciate all the work you do. Council, at this time, item 5.0 is the approval of the agenda. Mr. Wright?
Yes, Mr. Mayor. I would like to pull 9.03, 9.04, and table it for our next work session. Put a committee together for discussions and plans for future economic development in this case.
Councilmember Wright, if you would like to propose a friendly amendment to that motion to remove item 6.014 and add item 9.05, which is a request for closed session to discuss economic development.
Yes.
Motion by Councilmember Wright, seconded by Mayor Pro Tem Colvin. Is there discussion? Mr. Deviere.
Just wanted to understand, we're pulling it for what reason, so that we're tabling it so that we can have a committee meeting and talk about?
Yeah, what we're going to do is put together a committee to discuss incentives, tax incentives for economic development. When we look at these two projects, 03 and 04, instead of voting them down tonight or voting on them tonight, I think that we'll have a further discussion to put together a committee.
In addition to that, if I could, Councilmember Deviere, I think there was some information that was received late that we needed to verify or validate, particularly on one of the items. So I think that if we could table this to a discussion to give us the opportunity to catch up on that. Some of the items we received late this evening, so.
The motion, as I understand it, is to remove items 6.014, 9.03, 9.04, and add what will be 9.05, closed session for economic development, and to include personnel. Mr. McDougal.
Well, I think you were making the clarity that I needed, the exact items that we were trying to move or remove from the agenda tonight. 6.03.
No, sir. 6.014, 9.3, and 9.04. 9.03 and 9.04.
Yeah,
And then, yes, we're adding the closed session, the executive session at the end of the meeting.
that's correct. Now, that's what I understood, but I kept hearing 6.03. We good.
Great, thank you. Further discussion, council? Yes, Mayor Pro Tem, second it. All right, seeing no further discussion, I'll ask for your vote, please. Madam Clerk, that is 8-2 with Councilmember Deviere, Councilmember Moan voting against. Those voting in favor, Councilmembers Crisp, Wright, Arp, Robertson, Colvin, Jensen, Hurst, and McDougal. Council consent, we have pulled 6.014. And at this point, I'll entertain a motion or direction if there are other items to pull.
Mr. Mayor, I move to approve the consent agenda with the exception of 0.014.
Second.
Okay, seconded by Councilmember Wright. Motion by Mr. Crisp, with the exception of 6.014. That was removed during the,
Yes, sir.
Madam Attorney?
So it would be to approve the revised consent agenda.
That was the motion as I understood it, right, Mr. Crisp?
I move to approve the revised consent agenda with the exception of 6.014.
And I second that.
Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, council, I'll ask for your vote, please. Madam Clerk, that's unanimous. Item 7.0 is the public forum. This is the time that any Fayetteville resident may have input on a voice on what goes on in the city government. Due to policy restrictions, the forum will last no longer than 30 minutes, and each speaker will be limited to only 3 minutes to address the council on issues related to the city of Fayetteville. Individuals wishing to speak at tonight's public forum should have signed up with the clerk prior to the start of tonight's meeting. If you're here to speak for an item that appears later on tonight's agenda, under the public hearing section, we ask that you please reserve your comments for that time. When you hear your name called by the city clerk, we ask that you come to the podium and clearly state your name and home address for the record. Then when you see the lights located on the podium change from green to yellow, you have 30 seconds left to speak. When you see the red light come on, your time has expired. Again, due to policy restrictions, we are unable to extend that time given. So with that being said, Madam Clerk, would you call the first speaker?
Our first speaker is Charles Matthews.
Welcome, Mr. Matthews.
The Honorable Mayor, first of all, I'm Charles Matthews. I live at 3618 Tyndall Court, Fayetteville, North Carolina. To the Honorable Mayor and the members of the City Council, I want to thank you for giving me the opportunity to speak with you in reference some of the problems we're having with the flooding in the city of Fayetteville. And I also would like to thank some of the people that came also that have businesses on Murchison Road, and also some of the residents in the vicinity of Murchison Road and also Big Cross Creek. Now, we all know the problem, so the key thing is, if we have a problem, we must know where the problem began in order to solve it. So the problem we're having with the flooding downtown on Big Cross Creek begins at Texas Pond. Little River has a stream that runs into Texas Pond right next to Honeycutt. This is where Big Cross Creek began. It runs behind Seminole Air Force Base, across Rosie Lake, and on behind Fayetteville State into downtown Fayetteville. Now, we know Big Cross Creek is the problem. So what is the solution? You must control the flow of water. We know that. In order to control the flow of water, you have to have a means to stop the water from coming into Big Cross Creek, and that's controlled. Rosie Lake is your solution. Rosie Lake will hold approximately 156.3 million gallons of water. The benefit, if we control the flow of water in Big Cross Creek, it would also benefit the soil where your future baseball park is to be placed. Causes. At the present, Rosie Lake flows water into Big Cross Creek, which floods downstream. We know that. Also, the city owns property on Rosie Lake. I was once told that the property the city owned wasn't on Rosie Lake because it's 20 feet away from Rosie Lake. Well, that 20 feet is an easement for PwC, and we all know who owns PwC. So the city do own 20 acres of property on Rosie Lake. For the greater need of the city of Fayetteville, it would be great if the city would take Rosie Lake over by eminent domain. They once talked about putting a park on the city property and a walkway from the city park back to Fayetteville and on out to Fort Bragg, also a greenway. We need this now. No one can anticipate when the next storm will come. There's a railroad track behind Fayetteville State that got knocked out during the storm also. Many of you probably don't know about this. That railroad track had one large culvert in it, and water came through and knocked it out. Well, they rebuilt that railroad track last week, and I went out there, I watched them. They put 2 large culverts in there. When they did that, you can imagine what's going to happen now when the water comes through there without control. We're going to have problems, big problem then. I hope that don't happen. Do you have any questions? I got a couple minutes left, so you have any questions?
Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you.
Madam Clerk.
Our next speaker is Carla Collard.
Welcome.
Good evening. I'm having an issue with my neighbor, and it's been going on for 11 and a half years. I live at 1820 Guyberger Drive here in Fayetteville. It's a private part of Guyberger Drive. And my neighbor across the street has harassed me all these years. If it's not the cat, it's the dog. If it's not the dog, it's the basketball goal, which we're allowed to have because we're on a private street. We've done everything we can not to bother her in any way. She's an elderly lady. And, but it proceeds anyway. At the beginning of the year, the police told her to stop calling them. The dog catcher has told her to stop calling them. I've actually called the mediation, Mrs. Frey. She wouldn't respond. She claims that we're tearing up her bushes. There's been a fungus in our area. It eats up all the trees. I don't know how she figures, but she has a little makeshift fence up there that has been up there for like 2 or 3 years. So if we were indeed messing with her bushes, it would be knocked down by now. She's really become a nuisance, and evidently there's some people, well, some of you councilmen are aware of the issue. I can't get anybody to back me up for her to leave me alone. She's even contacted the people I rent from, which was kind of like crossing the line, because I could have gotten kicked out of where I stay, because I'm a renter and she owns, which is not fair. But luckily I had a long list of names. Teresa Curry, Mrs. Rupert, Gainey, you name it. A lot of people know about the situation, but yet nothing's been done. I'd really like her to stop harassing me and my family. I don't know what else to do. That's why I'm here today, hoping it will be addressed. She calls the police. Sometimes she'll call several times a day. This was before she was told not to call. I mean, time after time. I used to offer them water, and you want some water and cookies? You know, it's kind of hot out here. It doesn't end. And I'd like for someone to address it. It's not fair. And then I called the magistrate, and they said, when I called the magistrate, they said, well, since she's not harassing me on the phone, it's not legitimate.
Thank you so much. Chief Davis, would you step out and go over some of the options? Great. Thank you, ma'am.
Okay, thank you.
Our next speaker is Paulita Frutis. Apparently she's not here.
Okay.
Our fourth speaker is Melvin Kravitz.
Hey, Mr. Kravitz, how are you?
I'm walking this evening
It's a great thing.
and smiling at the beautiful city elders is the term that I use. Not councilmen, city elders of our beautiful city. And I commend you for being so appropriately dressed. It's a big issue. And I'm appropriately dressed because I work very hard downtown trying to catch the eye of homeless people and educate them and prod them to be up a little. So my special shirts always has a scripture on it. That's the only reason I'm not in suit and tie. But what makes a city beautiful is neighbors smiling, being attired decently, and not showing their underwear. I ride the bus every route. And underwear, the sight of it, does not belong on the bus. Public transportation, besides being known as Preacher Moses, I'm going to be a prophet. Public transportation is a very key thing in the near future. The bus depot being built is equal in beauty to what you have in Durham. Oh, we're going to get awards and awards for fast, marvelous running the public transportation. But please, please, let FAST do better at removing foul language, which is insulting to us lovely neighbors. Thank you.
Our next speaker is Joe Riddle.
Welcome, Mr. Riddle.
Thank you, Mayor Robertson, members of council. I'm Joseph P. Riddle III. I reside at 125 Great Oaks in the city of Fayetteville. And I actually came here tonight for a couple of items I think that were sent to committee. I would like to say a few things about those, and then I've got one question to council. Item 903, which was the incentives for Spring Hill Suites. And I think I said the same thing at the public hearing. If the council would talk to John Morosky, they would find out that motels right now are overbuilt in Cumberland County. Now, I know we had a surge with people that have been moved out of their homes with the flood, but to be honest with you, I don't even understand why the developer wants to build another motel right now. I mean, if you were trying to get a loan to do it, you'd have a hard time getting an appraiser to give you the occupancy, the proposed occupancy you would need to borrow the money, but maybe the developer's using cash. But in my opinion, we're overbuilt. It's not a good situation to promote more motels when you don't need them, just like when the city got involved in building the PwC building and the Festival Park office building. Offices were overbuilt in Cumberland County, and that made it worse. So I would be careful on that. I think that when they built Embassy Suites, it was the nicest hotel in Fayetteville. They did that in a bad economic time. My hats are off. They did a great job. It's a beautiful hotel, but we don't need another budget motel, especially not now. And I don't think that the city should be using incentive money for those kind of projects. I think you should, focus on industry and jobs, or using that money to help blighted areas. And certainly Lake Valley and the Cross Creek Mall is not a blighted area. As for 904, those developers are building a big project. I realize that's a big engine. I know that there's parties on the council that would like to help them. I would just say this, that that is a rough site. It is in a good place, but the only way they can get good access is to build a highway through it. They've got to move a railroad track, which is really expensive, and they've got a lot of stormwater issues. I'm not so opposed to the city helping out on that, but I think I don't see how you pick one project and not pick others. I think we have overregulated ourselves somewhat with the UDO and stormwater issues. Now, I know we just had a 26-inch rain in 2 weeks, and we felt the wrath at Gates 4, where our maintenance building was 3 foot underwater after the 11-inch rain and 5 foot underwater after the 15-inch rain. So I know y'all have a tough time with that. One other thing real quick, if I could just ask one thing. My family would like to make a major donation through my dad's charitable foundation to help out the flood victims, and I'd like to ask council if they could, to recommend what organization it would be good to do that. We're going to do a challenge grant against the rest of the real estate people and builders in Fayetteville and developers, and would like to know who y'all would recommend. Thank you very much. Appreciate your time.
Thank you, Mr. Riddle.
Our next speaker is Charlene Williams. Okay. Our next speaker is Bridget Smith Osborne.
Welcome, Ms. Osborne.
Good evening, Council. My name is Bridget Smith Osborne. Bear with me because I'm not a public speaker. I do not reside in North Carolina. I reside in New York City. Hurricane Matthew has brought me down here. I've traveled over 600 miles. I am a housing provider, providing clean, affordable housing for the residents of North Carolina, giving them a sense of stability and strength. There's a subdivision that I invest in called Creek's Edge. It's located just off of Rayford Road in Skybo. The housing stock there has been hit tremendously by the hurricane. I would say about 85% of the housing stock there has been destroyed. Aaron's Lake, the levee breached and caused a surge of water coming into these units, these townhomes, and caused economic disaster for myself, other homeowners in the area. It was one of the hardest hit areas, I was told. We're starting to see some resources coming into that area. I do appreciate the debris cleanup that has started since, I believe it was Saturday. The debris has been removed in front of my 8 units. This has caused an economic disaster for myself. I'm asking for economic justice. I know the governor stated that his administration's top priority is housing moving forward. What I wanted to know is what plan is going to be put forth for individuals like myself, who's providing clean, affordable housing for the residents of North Carolina, who is not being helped through FEMA, because I do not reside at the residence, and is not being covered by insurance. The surge of water that came from this dam has caused the impact in this subdivision. I think that the infrastructure needs to be looked at a little bit more carefully. So in the future, something like this can be prevented. Thank God no one lost their life in this area, but we had about 3 to 4 feet of water that came inside the units, and pretty much gut rehab job. I invested a significant amount of money doing capital improvements, upgrades, HVAC systems, new roof, ceramic tile flooring that had to be destroyed and taken up. And this has really caused an economic disaster for myself. My tenants are anxious to come back home. And I'm just here today to voice for myself, the other homeowners, and the residents that live in this subdivision. So that's pretty much it.
Thank you very much.
All right, thank you.
Ma'am, if you wait around and see me after the session, if you could.
There are no more public forum speakers.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. We'll close the public forum, move into the public hearings. Item 8.01, Mr. Randy Hume. Mr. Hume, while you're setting up, I'll read my little thing here. Public hearings are for individuals desiring to speak. They should have signed up with the city clerk prior to the 7 o'clock meeting with your name and home address. As you come to the podium, we ask that you repeat your name and home address. 15 minutes will be allotted for each side, or individual speaking will be limited to 3 minutes each. Time used in response to a question from council members will not be counted against your time, and no one from the audience will be permitted to speak to council. It will be council's discretion, and the only response will be in response to a question that council member asks that's recognized by this chair. Mr. Hume.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. I'm Randy Hume, the Transit Director. We have a route that we started in early 2015 that operates to Fort Bragg. It's an express route, Route 50, and we learned this is the route for everybody's information. We learned earlier this summer that Fort Bragg had discontinued its early morning shuttles that this route connects to. And so our ridership has dropped. We've looked at alternatives to try to circulate on the post. We're not able to do that yet. And so we've worked with our FACT committee, and they have recommended that Route 50 be discontinued at this time, or once we give some notice to our operators, and to our customers, I'm sorry. And the FACT committee also, though, recommends that this route, the resources that put to this route be used to enhance our Route 17, which serves western parts of Fayetteville, and it would extend that route to Cross Creek Mall, which would do a lot for that route in terms of ridership as well as frequency. This is a schedule, and the highlighted part doesn't show up really well, but we would be about 5 trips in the morning, about 5 trips in the afternoon. That route would go all the way to the mall on 45-minute frequency, and it would be a good enhancement. And we would propose that this would start, or the FACT committee recommends that this would start when we make all our route changes related to the new transit center. And
Thank
with
you, Mr.
that,
Hume. We'll open the public hearing. Madam Clerk.
We have one speaker, Mr. Melvin Kravitz.
It's so nice to talk to you. I haven't done so in such a long time. Melvin Kravitz, please do me the favor of writing down 1808 Camden Road, 910-488-4130. That is the location of the second most important thing on Camden Road, the first being urban ministry. It's been a long time since I've been here, but 3 years ago, I know of delivering from 2 high-ups. Please.
Mr. Kravitz, if you'd get to the point of what we're discussing at the public hearing, please, and that's
Yes,
the route. That's the route.
Please get us a bus stop at Urban Ministry. But it was not practical, as the recommended 2 changes. Fast did it again. They make perfect recommendations, and I'm for it. And among the recommendation is that the route has special hours where it goes a little different. I plead with FAST to consider urban ministry and homeless rescue at 1808 also to be a partial special movement for bus number 8.
Mr. Kraft.
It works perfectly.
Sir, did you have anything to speak about Route 50 to Fort Bragg? That's what we're discussing.
Bye-bye to it.
Thank you, sir.
And the adjustment, which is a partial, is absolutely wise, perfect, and gas. It's economical. Perfect that it does it in morning and afternoon. Which is also that I am every day at Blue Street Senior Center. And that bus, 12, also is a partial that just goes to Blue Street when it's open, but then goes the regular old stop in the evenings. So the recommendation for the bus is perfect. Partials.
There are no more speakers for this item.
So we'll close the public hearing for 8.01. 8.02 is a special use permit.
Mr. Mayor.
For 4817 and 4825 Murchison Road.
Mr. Mayor, may I ask a question?
Oh.
Since we have no more speakers on the transit service change, would a motion be in order to approve the recommendation?
Yes, sir. Thank you, Mr. Crisp.
If I may, then I move to approve the discontinuance of Route 50 to Fort Bragg Express and to add those changes articulated to Route 17.
Thank you. The seconded by Mayor Pro Tem. Council, further discussion? Seeing none, I'll ask for your vote. That's unanimous, Madam Clerk. Thank you. So now we'll go to 8.02, which is the special use permit for 4817 and 4825 Murchison Road. Mr. Harmon.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, members of council. This action is for a special use permit for wholesale automotive gas distribution truck terminal, again at 4817, 4825 Murchison Road. It is a special use permit, so we do need to swear in the speakers before we get started.
Madam Clerk.
So we have one speaker, Dell Crawford. Raise your right hand. Do you swear or affirm that the testimony you are about to give is the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Property in question, again, is located on Murchison Road. It's a former contractor lot where equipment was stored at one time. There's a building that's pretty well grown up around it at the moment that the applicant plans to refurbish to use as a small office there on the property. Iron Wheel Road is a small dirt road here on the north side of the property, and most of your properties in that area along Murchison Road, there's a little bit of a mix, but most of them are commercial, at least commercially zoned. The stuff straight across the road, however, is not. It's kind of a little mix of single-family houses over there, but there are multiple houses on each lot. Currently, again, as the photo showed, it is vacant on the main part of this property and is being unused at the moment. Our land use plan does call for heavy commercial throughout that area. And with the heavy commercial, with the SUP process, this truck terminal would be allowed on this property. And this is what they're looking to do. This would be Murchison Road here. They would have an entranceway This basically would be just a truck terminal, and these are tanker trucks for fuel. As you know, just to the north, only a quarter mile or so is the Motiva plant. And so what they would do is park trucks here. They would go out of this location, go to Motiva, fill up, and then make their rounds around the Cumberland County area to local gas stations. And so currently, I think they plan to, as they build into this, get up to as many as maybe 12 trucks being parked out there, but maybe start a little with about half that much with only about 6 or so. Again, they do plan to use that existing building that's on the property. And you can see the landscaping and there will be a detention pond required, or some type of detention, water retention at the back of the property. A couple of photos of the property as it sits now. Like I said, it's pretty well grown up around the building currently. This is the Iron Wheel Road I mentioned a while ago. Sandco Construction is just to the north. Conditions have been recommended by the staff if approved. And again, being an SUP, the owner does not have to accept conditions placed on an SUP. The approving body has the authority to give those. Limit on the hours of operation due to proximity to residential zoning. Increase in plantings in the street yard buffer along Murchison Road. And increase buffers around the property to project the value of the adjacent lots. The Zoning Commission recommended approval with conditions 2 and 3. They felt that this met all the findings and that the use would be no worse than other uses that were already permitted in the CC district that could go without a special use permit. And that those buffers that they suggest would protect neighbors' property values, along with the increased street yard buffer, helping the look of the property as you're traveling down Murchison Road. The city staff had recommended a denial of this SUP. The Murchison Road plan calls for single-family residential through that area. There's quite a bit of single-family zoning around the site. We had concerns over the increase in the tanker truck traffic, especially in the future. Murchison Road, as DOT does some of its newer projects, will be a divided highway or a divided street in that area, so that would limit what they're able to do getting in and out of the property in the future. Murchison Road being a gateway corridor to the city, and the parking area that they're proposing, the parking part of it would be gravel and could cause a large amount of dust when parking large vehicles like these. Any questions of staff before we open your public hearing?
Mr. Colvin.
So Harmon, thank you for that. I was reading up to see if there were any. Now, would they be storing fuel tanks there? I suppose so, if they're a fuel depot, right?
The only fuel that, as I understand it, the only fuel they plan to have on site is for fueling those trucks. They will have, let me see here, I believe it's right here at the kind of the neck of the entrance will be kind of a gas pump for actually filling up the trucks for their purposes of driving. But as far as when they fill up, they'll actually
tank in the ground for the pump to get it out of, right?
There will be gas, I'm sure, in the ground. That's the only place for it.
What is the use of this if this business changes? Then you have environmental issues with it being a fuel storage?
Not as much anymore. In the past, with the EPA regulations now, they're a lot more stringent than they were in the past, where you had a lot of issues with small gas stations and things, that the tanks would rupture and you'd have, contaminated soil for miles because of it. So with all the EPA regulations now, they have to double line tanks and do things of that nature, so it's not as big a concern as it was.
And the last question,
past.
Mr. Mayor, what we approved a few months back further up Murchison Road, was that also a fuel depot?
What you approved up the road on Murchison is where Motiva offloads fuel. And what these trucks would do is these trucks would be parked here. This would be their base, basically, and they would travel up to Motiva to fill up with gas, and then travel around Cumberland County and, southeastern North Carolina even.
Mr. McDougal.
Thank you. Mr. Harmon, do you have an aerial view of that particular area? And what I'm seeing is mobile units, I believe, behind there.
There are some mobile homes, here, and some single-family and mobile homes behind it, and then across Murchison Road is kind of a mix of some stick-built single-family and mobile homes as well.
One other issue, I'm not sure if you all addressed it or no, is there like and when we talk about a turn lane, have we addressed that as far as getting in off of the Murchison Road into that area? Would there be a turn lane required, or is there room for a turn lane?
I'm not sure. I don't believe that DOT at this point has told them that they would require a turn lane because this would be a DOT street and DOT projects out there.
Yeah. My problem is, how do you turn a tanker into that area without covering all two southbound lanes?
Yeah, that was one of staff's concerns, is maybe the engineer, I know he signed up to speak to that on the owner's behalf, but not only the turn in, but Motiva is actually to the north of this, so you've actually got to come out and cross traffic to get out.
Right, that was
as
my other
well.
question, not just coming out, but making a left turn across all four lanes. Have we addressed the safety issues in that area at all? I think you said something about the 295. It has dumped a lot of traffic, and a lot of people are now coming the Murchison Road rather than taking that 295 to the Bragg Boulevard exit because it's jammed up.
Well, and as you know, Bragg Boulevard is now closed at the south end of Spring Lake, so all traffic on Highway 87-24 is being diverted to Murchison, and then they have the option of going over to Bragg Boulevard, but yeah, a lot still continue on Murchison into the downtown if that's where they're going.
Right, I travel it quite frequently, so trust me, it's backed up, and people are using the Murchison Road a lot more because of the backup. And I don't know if you've considered that. Initially when I read through this, I actually thought that the proposal was for parking some of the, for parking some trucks, and I thought it was a decent idea, but okay. The other thing, you gave me the site view and the single-family homes. I'm good for the moment.
Any other questions, Mr. Mayor?
Yes, sir. Just a couple. Mr. Crisp.
Mr. Harmon, go back to your recommendation slide. Right there. You said something about tankers. Where did I see that?
I'm not sure if you saw it in the recommendation or just heard me saying it.
Well, maybe I heard you say it, but my concern is when we talk about tractors and trailers, the tractor is and then the trailer. And I understood you to mention the word tankers, so are we to understand that tankers will be parked on this site?
Yeah, that's all that would be parked there because it's for gas delivery.
Are you aware and are they aware that an empty tanker is just as dangerous as a full one, and in some instances more so. Now, I'm speaking from experience because I had a company with 5,000-gallon tankers for 4 years. And the one accident that we had that blew up was an empty one. Okay? So I thought I heard you say they're going up the street to load, but these empty tankers are gas bombs. So I got some concerns, as Councilman McDougal pointed out. If you're going north on Murchison, it doesn't seem to be much of a problem making that turn, except you're going across several busy lanes. And I don't see how they're going to come out of there and make a left turn, because they're going across lanes to go north. I don't see how they can come out of there without swinging all the way over into the northbound lanes to make a southbound movement. I just got some concerns about the hazards of this particular location with empty tankers. And when we say tankers, maybe I'm assuming the wrong thing, but I think we're talking about those things that haul gasoline and.
Yeah, these would be, full-size tanker trucks.
All right, thank you. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Chris. Mr. Deviere?
Mr. Mayor, I'm good. Councilman McDougal, ask my questions.
Mr. Hewitt, do we have Mr. Stone or Mr. Jernigan anywhere? Right on cue. Mr. Stone, is there a median project going on Murchison Road?
I believe there's one planned, but I don't know if it's scheduled or not, Mayor.
It is not on DOT's funded list or anything at this point. And when I talked with DOT, they couldn't give me a date as to when they thought that might happen, but it is one of the scheduled future improvements.
So it's planned but not funded?
Yeah.
So, we understand.
Okay, thank you. Council's got no further questions. We'll open the public hearing.
Our speakers, Dale Crawford.
Welcome, Mr. Crawford.
Hello, Mayor, members of the council. I certainly appreciate the opportunity to speak tonight. If I may be so kind as to pass these out, or
Yep, you can give them to the clerk. She'll take care of them.
I'll wait just a minute while those get passed out. First of all, I'm Dale Crawford with Crawford Design Company, 116 North Cool Spring Street in Fayetteville. We're a landscape architect and civil engineering firm representing the client, Quality Oil.
While that's coming around, Mr. Crawford, do you have any storm damage?
Yes, sir. Just down from our office, as you know, on Cross Creek. But yeah, we had some roof leaks and that kind of thing. But fortunately, or we were very fortunate versus some other folks.
You weren't caught in that flood that hit just south of you then?
No, sir.
Or north of you, I guess. Good.
Just wait just another second, make sure everybody's got a copy before I talk, and I'll just be brief. It won't take too long. Kathy's taking her time. Just. All right. Very top sheets, as you all have kind of glanced at. This is what's in the area, and as you'll see, most of this development that's went on has gone on back in the 40s, 50s, 60s. And as you'll see, these, again, are right in the vicinity, and with the exception of the modular homes, which is being rented, some of those are being rented, everything's vacant. It's derelict. There's no development going on in the area and all that. So what my client's trying to do is at least take a little piece of that property and develop it and all, which it would be after it's done, the building would be renovated, parking, landscaping, and all. It'll all be brought up to code. It'll be in compliance with UDO, so it will, again, that little small piece of property would start enhancing the area. So I just wanted to just kind of show you those photos. The last sheet at the top, of course, is you've already seen is the piece of property as it looks now. Well, just think what it will look like after it's developed and all, and that building renovated, the front of it paved, and so on and so forth. So I think in that regard, it will enhance the area quite a bit. This next sheet where it says city's review, as the city had mentioned, the staff had mentioned, they had denied the project and all for obvious reasons, which we understand. But just to give you a little bit more background information, as was stated, basically it's to park vehicles. There's not going to be any transfer of product, with the exception of filling up a truck, for gas, the cab itself. But there'll be no transfer of any kind of petroleum products. It will just be for parking. The concern with the truck traffic, well, they're already on Murchison Road now. They're already, Motiva, the Motiva site is already servicing these vehicles. So they're not going to, these 12 trucks are not going to increase additional truck traffic on Murchison Road. It's already there now. There would just be staging in the Murchison Road area for convenience. If you think about it, 12 trucks, 2 or 3 trips a day, that'll be about 40 trips a day. If you put some of the uses that are allowed on there, even a convenience store, that could be up to 1,000 trips a day. So if you think, 40 trips a day versus 1,000 or more trips a day, if something else was on there, I think the truck traffic is probably a pretty good payoff, and the less amount of traffic that you would have on that site of pretty much any of the other uses. Just down at the bottom here, some of the other uses that can go on there without going through the special use permit. Of course, gasoline sales, repair establishments, bars and nightclubs, could go on, car washes, muffler sales, automotive part sales, so on and so forth. So again, thinking about the 12 trucks that's going to be on this site, it's a pretty good deal as far as any significant increase in the Murchison Road traffic. And then, of course, they were talking about some of the additional items that they'll do on the site. There'll be some increased landscaping. Again, the front of that the site would be very much enhanced. The trucks are actually going to be parked to the rear of the site, not visible, so on and so forth. So we would appreciate your favorable response on this project, and I'm here to answer any questions you have.
Council, any questions, Mr. Crawford? Mr. McDougall?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. You've given us one visual, I guess, of a site plan.
Yes, sir.
I would have cared to have a little bit more than this, but as a matter of fact, this visual says that there are 19 spaces.
Well, we'll reduce that to 12 because that's already been discussed. So that will be reduced down to the 12 spaces.
All right. So this is not a valid visual then of the area. Where do you currently park these trucks?
In the downtown area. So they have 2 trucks now in the downtown area.
You only have 2 trucks now, and you're going to go expand from 2 trucks to 19 trucks?
To 12.
12 trucks.
Yes, sir.
So you got me thrown off with this site plan that says 19.
For that.
So
12 trucks.
Yeah.
And 12 trucks is in the agreement, the special use agreement. Right. Maximum of 12 vehicles.
I'd like a better view of what you actually plan to do there.
Okay.
And this doesn't quite give it to me. I mean, it gets me started. You give me more views of what it looks like currently, And if you could give me more views of what it looks like you're proposing, especially as I think about it, I don't know. I don't drive a tanker. I don't know what it's like to try to put a tanker back out on on that road. I'm concerned about safety. I'm hoping that the company that's coming there would be good partners. I actually drove by the area. I drive by the area all the time. My mother lives north of there, so I'm sometimes every day of the week. And, I took a good visual when I saw your piece a few weeks ago, a month ago. So I took a good visual of the area. I know the area. Matter of fact, I live behind them myself. But I'm concerned about safety more than anything. I'd love to have a good partner in that area to bring some jobs to the area. I'd love to have that because there's going to be increased security. You're going to need a lot of different people to help you in that. But again, I'm concerned about safety. And this one photo does not concern itself at all with safety. Pulling that truck in and especially coming out with that truck to either make a left or a right turn. I don't know how you can make a right turn out of this lot straight out, because this is just this is a 90 degree. There's no slant at all one way or another, giving some kind of merge in, merge out. And, with a tanker, you're not going to turn, I can't see it turning out from a 90 degree angle and then coming out and not being able to cross even the third lane. I think there's a turn lane on Murchison Road in the area. So it's like you're going to need like a bubble out or something to be able to get that tanker back out. Maybe I'm wrong. Again, I don't drive a tanker. Maybe you can tell me about that.
As far as the entrance and exit, we've met with DOT. We've discussed radiuses with them. They're the ones that dictate, in addition to your city staff, the entrance and exit of that piece of property.
They've given you a driveway permit?
They have not given us a driveway permit because we haven't went in for construction plans. We're in the process of getting this approved. So we have not got a driveway permit from them as of yet, but we have had some preliminary discussions on radiuses. The width of the driveway, for instance, is 36 feet wide. It's a nice wide entrance. The radiuses will be 35 to 40 feet. So they're nice wide radiuses to pull those trucks in and out. And that's in general compliance with DOT standards. But they would obviously be the ones to issue the permit along with your city staff. So we've looked into that. Yes, sir.
Mr. Harmon, could you give me again a look at the conditions if it's approved? I'm sorry, I just need to see those again.
We're still in the public hearing. Why don't you save that as a question till the public hearing's closed, and then staff can answer any additional things that you have at that point.
All right. Thank you, sir. I'm done, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Colvin?
Mr. Crawford, how are you?
Well,
reading in your, I kind of share a couple of concerns with Councilmember McDougal. These pictures are from what, 2010?
those photos, I think, are 15, if I'm not mistaken. I think
That previous 2010 on here.
Well, some of them are 2010, yes, sir. They're the latest, what I've
So this is probably, what, a quarter of a mile from Walmart, the new Walmart that went up there?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Which has brought a lot more traffic. And I see your traffic count, your vehicle count was 25,000 in your write-up. What was that date effective of what?
That was probably 5 years ago or so.
So it's safe to say it's probably increased now with the closure of Bragg Boulevard, the additional Walmart, and the other growth. So this is probably an inaccurate figure of traffic count as well, right?
Probably a little low.
Okay. I have some of the concerns that Councilmember McDougal had with the radius of a truck like that, particularly a fuel truck, which could be traumatic if there's any kind of incidents. But I'm interested to know where about on downtown are you parking your two trucks?
I don't have that address. Most of the trucks come out of Selma. This is really a satellite location.
So you're not from here?
I am not from here, no.
Are you having an issue with parking additional trucks on the current lot?
Mr. Mayor?
Oh, he's not sworn in. I'm sorry. Mr. Crawford, is he having a problem?
He can certainly be sworn in. but we would need to do that.
Maybe Mr. Crawford can answer that.
Not to my knowledge they're having any problems, as the Quality Oil representative said. They're on a lease site now, and they'd certainly like to.
And my final question is, you're gonna put a gravel parking lot, what kind of impact is all that dust and debris gonna have on the surrounding community?
As far as debris, I don't know that there would be that much, because there's a
small rocks with gravel,
significant asphalt apron before the gravel. But there would be some dust associated with that, yes, sir.
Thank you.
Mr. Crisp.
Sir, I don't want to be combative, but I have to tell you, I had 40 tankers in Europe. We hauled JP4 high-octane aviation fuel, diesel fuel, every kind of fuel you can think of. You're going to build a gravel parking lot. Those trucks do drip. And so there is the possibility of contamination in this park that you're talking about if there are not procedures put in place to conform with environmental protection rules in order to catch the drip. All right? Secondly, there will be trucks in there that have some fuel in them, half filled, some of them empty. So you can't say to me that every truck coming into this transfer point will be an empty truck. And again, I want to emphasize, and I know what I'm saying now, an empty tanker, gasoline tanker, is more dangerous than a filled one, really. So you're asking us to step off here and create a safety hazard in this neighborhood, which allows 12 trucks that may or may not have certain levels of fuel in them to be parked on a gravel parkway without provisions for drip accumulation. This is what you're asking us to do. And not talking about the turning radius, not talking about the busy highway and the increased traffic on Murchison Road. And I hear you loud and clear. You're saying to me that you approximate 40 trips as being less of a safety hazard than 1,000 cars. I don't agree with that. I don't agree with that. You can have 2 cars that wreck on Murchison Road, but if one of them hits one of those tankers, there may be a catastrophe. Okay? All right, you get my point.
Yes, sir.
There's a lot of questions that need to be answered here before I can, well, let me just say there are a lot of questions that need to be answered in my mind on this. Environmental protection against contamination of the soil, traffic volume in and out, all of these things come to mind based on my experience. I said to you, I had a battalion and I had a company with 40 tankers, all right?
Mm-hmm.
So I know the hazards. Thank you. Thank you, Mr.
Crisp.
Mayor.
I see no further questions from council.
Thank you.
Thank you. Close the public hearing. Council, I'll go to you for action.
Again, Mr. Mayor, I need to ask a question of the staff.
Mr. McDougall.
Yes, sir.
Again, I'd like to see those conditions of approval, and all right, are we there?
Staff had recommended all 3. The zoning commission recommended 2 and 3.
You know, is it possible to add a 4th one as we talk about environmental hazards? For in fact, this is uphill from one of the water sources that we use in the city, which is, that comes down to Filter Plant Drive, the lake over there. Mintz Pond is actually downhill from this site.
Yeah, if you're looking to approve it, the city council can impose reasonable conditions.
Is it, you say it's possible for the gentleman that actually owns it or is going to do this to be sworn in and to talk to us? Is that possible, Mr. Mayor?
I assume that we could reopen the public hearing,
Oh.
Madam Attorney, so
I couldn't talk to him now, no.
Mayor, if the council is so inclined, you could reopen the public hearing and swear him in.
Yeah, I'd just like for him to be able to address us so that we can,
Make your findings of fact.
I want to try to work with him, but I also want to protect the neighborhood and the people in the community, and I'm not sure if he's willing to do that. If he is, then maybe we can work something out. Try to
sir,
be
if you're
reasonable.
interested in addressing the council, please come and get sworn in. And while that's being done, council, we'll reopen the public hearing.
Do you swear or affirm that the testimony you are about to give is the truth, so help you God?
I do.
State your name and home address for us, please.
Sure. Kyle Armand Trout, 1021 Crossgate Road in Winston-Salem. Happy to be here.
Thank you. Mr. McDougal.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Mr. Kyle, you've heard some of our concerns, and I guess I might ask the question is there something that you and your company would be willing to do to address environmental, to address safety, as we think about the entrance and exit of those trucks and about any possible leakage? We know they're going to leak. Anything that holds any kind of liquid eventually will leak if it's not leaking when it's new.
So one of the things you'll notice on the site plan is we give quite a bit of distance to get into the facility. So you see a hash mark area. That is roughly 75 feet.
Can you use the mouse, the pointer of some sort? No? It won't do it? Doesn't do it? Okay. Don't worry about it now.
So there's some black lines about 20% of the way through the site. That is a secure fence.
There you
So
go.
we're going to have a gated fence.
You got the mouse now. I just saw it.
Right there. So anyway, that's about 75 feet from the right-of-way. So our plan is to get those trucks off the road. So they'll get off the road, a wide radius. They'll get to the security gate, and they'll be off Murkison Road. So they'll come through that gate. The gate will close. They'll park their truck. Their shift will be over.
Okay. And how about the leakage that we talked about?
Did you have some ideas there?
Oh, it's out of my league, man. I mean, if you ask me for some scripture, now I can help you with that.
Mr. McDougal, are you speaking of oil or gas?
Yeah,
or what
gas
type of
leakage. Yeah, gas leakage from the tankers. We know they're going to drip. It'll be a small drip, to start with, but continually dripping 365 days out of the year, every year. Eventually, it builds up, and so.
Yeah, and I'm a real estate guy, so I'm speaking out of school a little bit. So we take our trucks. Our trucks usually last about 3 years. So we're not using jalopies, I guess, in this facility. So we transport a lot of fuel. We transport 1.3 billion gallons of fuel a year. We use state-of-the-art trucks. So we're not going to have a garage here. We're just going to park them. So again, there will be some fueling on site for the tractor, but not for the trailers themselves. They'll be at Motiva. They'll travel up to Motiva.
All right, Mr. Mayor, I think that's it for me.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Colvin, you had a question.
How are you, sir? I had attempted to talk to you before you were sworn in, so I want to be legal. So did you ever find out where you currently are parking your trucks at locally?
It is a site here downtown. I have never been to that site. We have 2 trucks. We want to invest in the community and add some more trucks. Most of the fuel transport business comes out of the Selma area for this down 95. We wanted to add some additional capacity in Fayetteville and invest in the community. So that's why we looked to Murkison Road near the Motiva plant. Obviously, there's been some expansion of that Motiva plant here recently that I think council probably approved. So we are hoping to invest in the community. Motiva, go up to 295 to 95, and to transport fuel throughout southeastern North Carolina.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
See no further questions. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Council, I'll go back to you for action, please. We'll close that public hearing.
Sorry, Chalmers, I didn't get that.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Yes, sir. Go ahead.
I need to get my iPad back to my, oh, I got it right here now, okay. I believe that this will be a good project. I am concerned about environmental issues. I'm concerned about safety. I don't want to turn away this opportunity for the city to work with this particular employer. And so for that reason, I am motioning that we approve this special use permit with the conditions that have been included with the city, finding that it has met all of the finding of fact, but that we also, its approval would be contingent upon them gaining from DOT a driveway permit, and that we also address the issue of environmental concerns to assure that, somehow or another we need to address that, Mr. Harmon, if we can. And the other issues that you've listed, the three that I had you to put up earlier, that those be listed also.
Correct.
All right. Now, Ms. City Manager, not Manager, City Attorney, is there something else that I need to say in this motion? I could read this whole piece if I need to, but.
Yes, sir, you will need to make those. I'm sorry, you will need to make those 8 findings of fact, which I believe Mr. Harmon has on the slide.
I don't have on the slide there.
That's all right, I have a slide. I can't just say the 8 findings of fact be included with this motion. All right. I move to approve the special use permit to locate a transfer station in the community commercial zoning district as presented by the staff, with the 3 conditions that were listed by the staff to include a 4th one and a 5th one. The 4th one being that they obtain a driveway permit from the Department of Transportation, and 5thly, that environmental issues and safety issues be addressed. And based on the standards of the City Development Code, and that the application is consistent with all applicable plans, because 1, the development is located in a heavy commercial district, and 2, that its use complies with the findings listed below, and 3, that the proposed permit be in the public interest because of the proposed special use does fit with the character of the area. To include the 8 findings of fact. Did I give enough detail? You need more? And that the special use permit shall become effective 10 days after its approval. And that it will expire 1 year from its effective date of approval.
Nice motion. Is there a
Thank
second?
you.
Second.
Seconded by Councilmember Hurst. Further discussion? Mr. Colvin.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I have to disagree with my colleague here for, in my opinion, based on the fact that we had outdated, inaccurate numbers of 25,000 vehicles approximately traveled on this, which was data from several years ago. We've had several new developments of Walmart and Family Dollar and some other shopping areas. We've had the addition of 295, had the closure of Bragg Boulevard, and you had a number of things. And the other part of my argument is that, it showed us some pictures of what the site looked like several years ago, but I'm more interested in what it could look like, what it will look like with the addition of those things I mentioned. And so for that reason, I say I would like to challenge that motion based on the fact that I do not think it meets criteria number 6, which it has to meet 8 findings of facts, which says the special use permit maintains safe ingress and egress onto the site and safe road conditions around the site. And it said insert the supporting facts, and those were the facts that I mentioned before, that you have heavy vehicular traffic, you have several trucks, which a diagram shows us 19. They said it's been amended to 12, which we have nothing to back that up. And it just doesn't show a safe combination of things for this neighborhood, and I think the community deserves a little better than that. So that's my 2 cents.
Okay, further discussion? Seeing none, council, I'll ask that you act on the McDougal-Hurst motion. Madam Clerk, that is 7-3. Those voting against, council members Crisp, Deviere, Wright, Arp, Colvin, Jensen, and Moan. Those voting in favor, Robertson, Hurst, and McDougal. Thank you, council. 8.03, special use permit for downtown district for a bar to be located at 105 Donaldson Street.
Yes, sir, Mr. Mayor. This is case P1628F. And again, this is another special use permit, so if we can get the speakers that have signed up over here to get sworn in, along with Chief Martin from the fire department.
Put your left hand on the Bible, raise your right hand. What's one more? Do you swear or affirm that the testimony you are about to give is the truth, so help you God?
Thank you again, Mr. Mayor. Donaldson Street, as you know, runs between Hay Street and Franklin Street, at least this section that we're looking at. You've got the PWC building, is, you know, the old PWC building downtown here on the corner, what's now the parking deck behind that. And this property is right on the corner across from that area. Currently, of course, it's in the downtown, so there's quite a bit of commercial and office use in the downtown. As far as our land use plan, this shows up in the downtown district, which allows for several different types of uses, everything from residential to industrial, actually. This is a picture of 105 from Donaldson Street. Just a couple of photos of it. Again, the old PWC to the right, and this is it here on the left-hand side. This property, the owner of it, again, he wishes to open a bar on the first floor. Before he submitted his information to the city about his permit application for the special use, back in July, he built a fairly elaborate deck on the roof of the building and had at least one party that, these are all photos from his Facebook account for the business there. And so, yes, sir. Yeah. And so, for that reason, I also have Chief Martin here just to say a couple of very quick words about the fire district downtown and what was built up there and how it does not comply with the city code. For one, that rooftop is probably not structurally sound enough for a bar up there, but secondly, you're not allowed to have wooden structures in the downtown area. And as you can tell, there's quite a bit of wood was placed up there. So if you don't mind, I'm going to have...
Mr. Harming, go back to that other slide, that one right there.
Yes.
When's the open house? It was in July?
Yes, sir.
And that was done without permits?
Yes, sir. We did not know about it until the party happened.
So we didn't know about occupancy or the building permits?
No.
Okay, thank you.
If you don't mind, I want to just very briefly, have the chief come up and just say a couple of quick words about the fire district and what they found when they actually went up there. Chief, if you don't mind.
And if I could get you here also to show.
Yes.
Michael Martin, Battalion Chief, Fire Marshal, City of Fayetteville Fire and Emergency Management Department. On July the 23rd, the Saturday, myself and Assistant Fire Marshal Kevin Kimball made an inspection of the premises the day of his open house before the event was occurring, based upon complaints from others about a non-permitted rooftop bar and a non-permitted club per se. When we were given permission to go inside the structure, and on the top of the building, we did find this. And as Mr. Harmon said, this is against what we call our primary fire district rules. So if you can go to the downtown map, please. North Carolina general statutes mandate that cities provide primary and secondary fire districts, meaning that we have a density of buildings in this area. So we want to prevent a conglomeration of fires, which would spread to one building to another. One reason and one way we can do that is to prohibit combustible construction, such as wood and stuff exposed on buildings, which currently this is the case on top of the roof. So that's one violation we did find of our site visit.
Thank you, Chief. Getting back to the case at hand, though, this is, they are no longer looking at the roof. What they have applied for this time is on the first floor of 105 Donaldson. And it is kind of a lounge area with a bar, things of that nature. The zoning commission and city staff have recommended denial of this project. Staff is still working on modifications to city code to set use-specific standards for some small-scale neighborhood bars, pubs in the downtown, and we do plan to bring that to council probably to the work session on December 5th. The use is within 170 feet of a school. The Donaldson is a side street with smaller sidewalks than other parts of the downtown. Current and previous building and fire code violations that we just spoke about are one reason as well. And we didn't feel that they could meet the 8 findings of fact. The zoning commission in particular noted a lack of evidence that they could avoid significant adverse impact on the surrounding lands regarding odors and noise. Are there any questions of staff before we open your public hearing?
Councilmember Art.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Mr. Harmon, you are certainly trigger happy. I want you to go back to the slide that was up there.
I'm sorry.
I'm going to get sick if you keep flashing on that fast.
I
Okay.
don't see what you have on your screen, so.
Yeah, item number 1, I'm just giving you a hard time. Item number 1, it says the city staff is still working on modifications to the city code to set use-specific standards for small-scale neighborhood pubs, bars in the downtown area.
Yes, sir.
Don't you have to look at this from a finding of fact of what the current code calls for?
Well, yes, you do.
Then I don't know how that has any relevance.
Well, the relevance to that.
I'm challenging you now. You're making a recommendation based off of something that hasn't occurred and it hasn't been approved by council.
And it's not a fact.
And it's not a fact. Okay, thank you.
Further questions, council? Seeing none, Madam Clerk, we'll open the public hearing.
Our first speaker is Neil Lindsay. Or Mr. Duncan Hubbard on his behalf.
Can I be sworn in? I am Duncan Hubbard.
Are you sure you're Duncan Hubbard?
Yes.
Come on, come get sworn in. I know Duncan Hubbard, and I'm not sure you're him.
Do you swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to give is the truth, so help you God?
Welcome, Mr. Hubbard.
Thank you. Good evening, Mayor and members of council. My name is Duncan Hubbard. I am speaking on behalf of Neil Lindsay in this particular case regarding the properties that he does own in the downtown area. He owns a property located at 145 Franklin Street. He owns a property at 207 Donaldson Street. He also owns two other properties in downtown, one at 531 West Russell. He also owns 219 Robinson Street. Mr. Lindsay is concerned regarding the request that has come forward. The downtown area currently does have an ordinance regarding a bar being within a proximity of a church or a school. He is concerned that he has tenants that reside or work in these properties in which they will come to work with the type of things that we have experienced with bars in downtown. We have gone to work in city parking lots, of which many of his staff members rent properties. We come to work, we find beer bottles, we find debris. There have been items reported in city parking lots that have been direct results of a bar or facility that did not have the means to dispose of or properly maintain their area and cleanliness. Mr. Lindsay was at a meeting with the zoning commission, in which the zoning commission asked several questions. One of those questions in particular was how were they planning to park? Where were they planning to park? Sites were cited as being the parking deck, which currently already has problems with beer bottles and other debris. Many businesses have to lease parking in the parking deck, and it's just something we shouldn't have to come to work for, to have to simply walk over beer bottles or trash that is left behind. City staff is having to clean the parking lot, as well as the parking deck being maintained by McLaurin Parking, and we're concerned about what is going to happen should you all allow this to occur. There have been numerous violations that have already been reported that are in your packet, and I ask that you support your city staff with their recommendation of denial of this special use. Any questions?
Mr. Hubbard, Mr. Colvin was a little late on the draw. Mr. Colvin, go ahead, sir.
Not quite as quick as Harmon. Mr. Hubbard, how you doing, sir? I mean, we have to deal with the information we have before us. And,
Absolutely.
So I have something else to say when it gets to that time, but I heard you make a couple points that I have additional questions on. So
Yes, sir.
you basically were making the case that this type of business, was that the issue that you had? I understand that process, we have a problem there.
The type of business that is being referred to here, is that the desires of the council? Is that desires of what your downtown wants to become?
Well, I'm asking you right now. Is your concern?
I feel that is a great
Okay.
concern. I have
So,
worked.
so with, are there any other alcohol beverage companies in and around this area within 2 blocks?
I would say within 2 blocks, yes, sir.
How many would you say there?
I'm going to say 2. I would, there's a location on Hay Street that's a restaurant that in the evening time is a bar. And then there's a location on Person Street that isn't located in that area.
The one you're counting, is that the wine
No, sir, I'm referring to Piero's.
So you got probably 3.
Probably 3, yes, sir, because there is the
Do
wine.
you have issues with those establishments?
At this time, we have no issues with those establishments.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Hubbard. Thank you. Madam Clerk.
Our next speaker is John Harrison.
Next speaker.
Next speaker is Malanda Gibbs.
Welcome, Ms. Gibbs.
Do you mind if I pass these out? Once again, good evening, Mayor, distinguished council members, and citizens of Fayetteville. My name is Melanda, and I work with the property management team with DK Enterprise. We currently own 129 Hay Street, which adjoins 105 Donaldson Street. If you're not familiar with DK Enterprise, we actually renovated 7 properties in downtown Fayetteville. We own numerous other properties in the area, and we have also invested over $7 million into downtown properties. Although the area has not grown as much as we would like it to, we have focused and grown the business primarily on residential rentals. Our residential rentals are our bread and butter. It is because of this that we ask that you request and deny the special use permit. Our retail shops and restaurants that we own have tenants that fluctuate in and out, as I'm sure most of you've seen in downtown businesses. But we have residents that constant income enable us to further develop our business. It is because the residential rentals are so important to the growth of downtown that we want to speak against the special use permit for a bar next door. The bar would jeopardize 3 of our rental units that bring in a total income of $3,800 per month. Not to mention, we feel that there is a security issue with having a bar with a rooftop deck that adjoins our property that has a penthouse pop-up with an exterior door. So in effect, if somebody really wanted to, from this bar, they could jump over the wall, knock on our tenant's door, or even worse circumstances. Of course, of these factors, we request that you deny this permit. As you can see on the first picture, the rooftop deck to this bar is adjacent to our rooftop property. There's a skylight to one of our properties where our tenants reside. This is a concern for us. We have already had complaints from our tenants regarding this bar, and we just ask that the council deny this request to issue this permit. The second picture, you'll also see, I actually went on the roof today. You can see that there is debris and trash. We've actually had to clean up a lot of trash from our rooftop thus far.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
Madam Clerk.
Our next speaker is Hank Parfit.
Welcome, Mr. Parfit.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor and Council. Thank you for the opportunity to speak. I am Hank Parfit, and I live at 112 Hay Street, phone number 910-286-3979. I spoke before this council in April when the issue of a special use permit for Charlie's Pub came up. And at that time, I said, we need to have criteria, since it appeared that Charlie's was on the track to be approved anyway, that we need to have criteria for what would qualify as a bar that should be allowed downtown, and encouraged city staff to do that, and everyone on city council certainly supported that. And Mr. Arp, I agree that city staff has not been able to develop the criteria yet, and part of that is because we're still working with our consultants with Main Street America and also the Arts and Entertainment District. So that may be why you haven't seen those criteria yet. However, if you look at the zoning board's mission, which is to preserve the integrity of the neighborhood and contribute to its character, that's how they judge developments and what goes into that neighborhood. And when this issue came up to accommodate Charlie's, the consultants were talking about a brew pub, an Irish pub, that sort of thing. And if you look at item 1 and what Mr. Harmon presented, it does talk about pubs and small bars. So the Velvet Room, which is just a pure drinking establishment, it's a bar/nightclub, nothing wrong with that, but does it fit downtown? I don't think it does. And part of the problem is the noise issue, and let's face it, we've all been to a bar or nightclub, and even though it may close at 12 o'clock, what you do is you order 2 or 3 drinks, and they don't kick you out till 2 o'clock in the morning. So the noise is throughout the night, and then it actually peaks at 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning. And our track record with bars and nightclubs downtown has not been good. It has caused us to have problems renting our properties. And from an economic viewpoint, a lot of us have renovated property at great cost, and it's been the tenants living on the top floor that have helped pay the mortgage, basically. And also that represents a great source of revenue for the city. If you combine the income and property taxes from the 300 block, all the little apartments on top of commercial establishments, I think you'll see that residents are an important part of the economy as well as the life of our downtown. There is no lack of, we could use an Irish pub or something like that, but there are actually 4 bars that you can go to at nighttime, including Piero's, Husk Hardware House. Those 2 essentially turn into bars after 10 o'clock. And then, of course, there's the Wine Cafe, and then Charlie's. So it's not like there's a dearth of places to get a drink down here. So I'm asking you to support the findings of the zoning board and their recommendations, and to vote against this special use permit.
Thank you, Mr. Parfit. Thank you. Madam Clerk.
Our next speaker is Bruce Arnold.
Welcome, Mr. Arnold.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, members of council. My name is Bruce Arnold. I reside at 1908 Queen Street, Fayetteville 28303. My wife and I currently own 7 properties in the downtown historic district, operate 2 businesses, have been downtown for 18 plus years. We've seen a lot come and go. This is not a great fit for downtown. To answer someone else's question earlier, there are issues with some of the establishments that we have downtown that serve alcohol right now. It is not uncommon to have to pick up beer bottles and other unmentionable debris on Maxwell Street when you come in on Monday mornings. But more so, I think the big concern is the parking deck. The parking deck is a jewel for downtown, and there are issues with the parking deck. There are probably, I would guess, probably 20 plus calls per month for people on the 5th floor of the parking deck, which is not open to the public, up there partying, walking on the ledge. The police department has special patrols that go up there and have an access card to get up to the 4th and 5th level of the parking deck because it is a concern during the evening time. I think we're all young enough to remember back when we were young enough to be going out to a bar and establishments, and what'd we do at 1:30, 2 o'clock when the bar closed? We all congregated in the parking lot and continued on as long as we could possibly get away with it. Let's face reality. And the parking deck is a perfect place for this to happen. It's happening now every day or every weekend down there without having an establishment located right on the corner. I think this is a detriment to downtown, and I ask that you deny the permit.
Our next speaker is Stephen Wheeler.
Hi, Stephen Wheeler, live in Fayetteville and Van Story, own 5 parcels that abut or are adjacent to this piece of property. I'm not going to reiterate what all they've said. I pick up trash every morning from local bars, but most of those are good citizens and good neighbors. But I think you already have evidence that this is not going to be a good neighbor when they've already had events. They've had events since the zoning board recommend denial of their permit. They've had another event that we are very much aware of and actually took pictures of it. So I ask you not to approve this at this point in time because they are not going to be responsible. But yes, we do have problems with the current bars with trash and vagrants at night. Been down there 108 years, my family has. We've been through the bar scene. Do we want more restaurants and things? Yes, but I don't think this is what we want for downtown. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Wheeler. Congratulations on your daughter, by the way. Thank you. Councilmember Arp.
And you want to close the public hearing, Mr. Mayor?
That's it.
And we will do that. Close the public hearing, Mr. Arp.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Mr. Harmon.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so can you put your slide back up for the this is a quasi judicial hearing, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So I just want to make sure the folks present here tonight and the listening public understand what I was saying. It's our responsibility to adjudicate this request based on the current zoning and code in context with the quasi-judicial limitations of the information presented tonight, correct? And that's why I made exception about item number 1, that we should disregard that because that's not the current zoning. But with that said, I think there was enough compelling things stated that we can make a determination with the other evidence. Thank you.
Mr. Deviere?
Mr. Mayor, if there's no further questions, I'd like to make a motion.
Yes, sir.
I move to disapprove the special use permit to locate a bar in the downtown zoning district as presented by staff based on the standards of the city's development code, and the application does not meet the 8 findings of fact, specifically number 3, as well as the proposed permit is not in the public's best interest. Number 3, of course, being the special use avoids significant adverse impact on surrounding lands regarding service delivery, parking, loading, odors, noise, glare, and vibrations. Additionally, I'd like just to add to the fact that the current and previous building and fire codes violations by the owner of this property.
Second.
Number second.
Councilmember Art. Further discussion? Mr. Colvin?
I concur with Councilmember Devieres, but a lot of my concern was that the process wasn't followed. I look at it, I think one entrepreneur has the same rights as another. I don't think we can get into picking and choosing, but I didn't see where this particular business owner followed the process that we have, which is pulling permits and complying with the building codes and doing those things that we're expected to do. So based on that is why I wanted to deny it. But I guess as we get a little further along down the line with what our standards are going to be, it's a little tougher to pick and choose which businesses are acceptable and which ones are not, whether we agree with them or not. But based on that, I just wanted to clarify that.
Councilmember Crisp?
Mr. Mayor, I'm disturbed by what I heard. And I heard that there's a blatant disregard for the ordinance, rules, and regulations established by this city. That they had a party. First of all, they built a deck up there that doesn't meet the code, that is not authorized. And then they had a party without authorization. And then they had a second party without authorization. I'm just not concerned about the special use permit, but I'm concerned about the blatant disregard of the owners of this property.
Thank you. Let's talk about that after the vote.
All right, sir.
Any further questions? Seeing none, council, I'll ask for your vote. The motion is to not approve, to deny. Madam Clerk, that's unanimous to deny. All right, Mr. Crisp, to your point, Madam Attorney, can you tell us what legal standings we have if these folks continue to have parties, or if they do not honor the fire code as it's written?
Well, one of the things that I think Chief Martin may not have mentioned is that we also have the power to go in and I guess shut them down if they're having an illegal party. We've done that in the past. Quite often, some of you may recall, this past summer we were alerted of several different parties that people were having downtown without appropriate permits, appropriate parking, and that is one of the things that we do, even to the extent of we've had to in the past call for support from the police department. Because they have put material on the roof, which, as the chief was also saying about being in the primary fire district, we'll be having further conversations, we hope, with the property owner to see about having that combustible material removed. But of course, working with them as we can to, as Mayor Pro Tem Colvin said, to allow them to develop their property and their business to the fullest extent that they can, but making sure they do it in compliance with our rules and regulations.
Any further questions, Mr. Crisp?
I gotta say this. City manager said we will work with them to develop their property in compliance, but I gotta say that they haven't been working with us, and that's all I'll say. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Devier?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and I'll be brief. Mr. Manager, if we can just, I know the Alliance, the Downtown Alliance and the downtown is working with our staff, but if we can become a little bit more aggressive on moving that forward so that council can have something to look at sooner rather than later, from an ordinance shift for our downtown as we begin to look at what we want our downtown to look like. So we are not looking at cases like this.
Mr. Harmon just told me that we hope to bring that to you on December 5th, to your work session.
Mr. Harmon, not to belabor the fact, but is the property owner the tenant as well?
I believe that that is the case in this particular matter.
All right. Thank you very much. Council will take a 10-minute break.
You guys have any Kleenexes up there?
Now we're back live.
Welcome back to session, council. Item 9.01, stadium design architectural selection. We'll go to Mr. Bauer, our deputy city manager.
Thank you, sir. We just completed a request for qualifications process. That's the process for hiring architects, where you have to focus on the qualifications of the firm. We were really blessed in this process in that really the 4 national firms who do this on a national basis all put in proposals for the city to consider. And I'm really happy that we were able to actually select what I think is really the best firm out there to provide this design services for us. And I say that because we were actually able to bring Populous and get Mr. Sabatini, who is the lead designer for Spirit Communications Park. That's the one in Columbia that the council has seen and talked so favorably about. But he's actually partnering with Mr. Lindstrom, who I think a lot of you know from the local architectural firm of SFLA. So we'll have the national experience partnered with local representation. So we'll have the best of really both worlds and a nice team working for the community. Also on that team, we also have Mr. Knoll here, who also was the project architect for Spirit Communications Park. Also with, again, Mr. Frank, who's in the audience tonight, who's a local architect. So again, we'll have somebody, if we have an issue with the project, there'll be somebody right here in town that'll be able to respond and address those issues. In your packet, you've got lots of examples of the amazing work that's been done by Populous when it comes to this industry. They've really focused a lot on the diversity of amenities in the park that the council has talked about, different kinds of club spaces and seating configurations. So they really have their pulse, and they gave us a presentation about how they designed these things to provide a special experience that's much more than just baseball. And they want to bring that to us here in Fayetteville. They've also talked, again, council's talked a lot about multi-use and creating that opportunity in the park. And this is something that they have actually have a unique experience in doing very well, as we've seen with the Spirit Communications Park there in Columbia. So what we're really looking for you to do tonight, council, is simply to approve budget ordinance 2017-18, so we have the funding, and then we'll move forward negotiating the contract and getting them to work on this project. If you have any questions, I'm glad to answer them.
Mr. Crisp.
Just for the record, the budget ordinance amendment is to appropriate $3 million.
That's correct.
Thank you.
See no further questions. Mayor Pro Tem.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I move that we accept the recommendation as presented by staff to get my notes together, Mr. Bauer, to approve capital ordinance project number 2017-18 as presented.
Second.
It's Mayor Pro Tem Colvin, seconded by Councilmember Wright. Further questions, council, related to the motion? Mr. Arp?
Yeah, just a point of clarification, if I may, Mr. Mayor. Mr. Mayor Pro Tem, the $3 million, how does that fit within the budget that the council has looked at for the total project?
Mr. Manager?
Well, that'll be part of these soft costs are included in the total project price of $33 million. So this is part of the $33 million that you've put together a financial plan for the design and construction of the stadium. We don't anticipate, in fact, we would not recommend that you spend $3 million just on architectural services. This is really our first appropriation to get us prepared for negotiating this contract and follow-on contracts to get us moving toward construction.
So these are for soft costs is what you're saying, engineering and different things that will come up.
Well, it's
but all
certainly
within the $33 million
right. And
cap.
just to be clear, at this point, we haven't had the opportunity to get a price because you can't consider a price when you're doing an RFQ process. So we'll have to negotiate that price. So we don't expect this to cost, this is going to be less than $3 million. But as we move on to the next step in the process, this is our first appropriation toward that $33 million budget.
Mr. Manager?
Yes, Mayor, I may have missed it, but did the motion also include confirming the design team as presented? Or was it just to approve the ordinance?
I was getting ready to ask that as well.
And then another question pertaining the $3 million, let's, however much the soft cost would be at this point is coming out of the general fund, and are we paying ourselves back with the sale of bonds? Or where will that money come from?
That money will be financed, consistent with the financial plan that's been approved by
So we're
council.
going to issue bonds
My understanding is that we will not be issuing bonds.
for the soft, well, then it's not being financed, right?
Yes, sir, the amount will be financed. The plan currently is with limited obligation bonds using a reimbursement resolution, so that we would use our own city money up front, and when the time came to issue the bonds, it would include both the soft cost and the hard cost.
Not general obligation bonds.
Okay, thank you for clarification. Any
Yeah,
further
thank you for the
questions?
clarification.
All right, seeing none, do we need to restate the motion?
Sure. I move that we approve the stadium design architect selection team as presented by staff, and approve a capital project ordinance number 2017-18 for the allocation of $3 million for soft cost for this project.
I re-second.
Okay, and that motion was made by two members of the baseball committee. Mayor Pro Tem Colvin is the chair. Seeing no further questions, council, I'll ask for your vote, please. Madam Clerk, that's unanimous. Item 9.02 is the 2016-2017 Annual Action Plan for Disaster Recovery. Mr. Victor Sharp.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, members of council. This item is a follow-up from your October 18th meeting where we had a discussion on coming up with funds to assist in with our citizens in their recovering from the situation we had with Hurricane Matthew. What we're bringing before you tonight is to get some guidance from council as to move forward with a substantial amendment to our 2016-2017 Annual Action Plan for our home and CDBG funds. I have identified some sources of funding for which we could use for assisting our citizens, and our recommendation is that those funds be used for repairs to the homes that have been flooded. As mentioned in your memo, there is currently $353,127 that is currently that has been allocated for the Target Area Revitalization Program. There's $200,000 of home funds for the Hoke Loop Commons Apartments. That project was contingent upon them receiving a tax credit award from North Carolina Housing Finance Agency, and it did not receive that award, so those funds are available. Also, we currently have $107,000 of CDBG funds from program income at the end of June, at the end of this past fiscal year. We also have 200 and actually this amount is slightly lower. We had a closing that was in the process, so I would say approximately $240,000 that would be available from the general fund in our affordable housing development fund. We have been acquiring properties in the B Street and other areas as a part of that fund. So we were trying to come up with as much funding as we possibly could. So I would say approximately $900,000 would be available for a program that would assist those who may have damage and need further assistance in repairing their homes.
Mr. Sharp, what's that program look like to you?
It would be a grant for owner-occupied residents that may have additional need for repairs to be made to their home. We understand that the assistance that homeowners may receive from FEMA and other resources, even possibly insurance, may not fully cover the cost of the repairs that would be needed to be made to the homes. And these are grant dollars, and so it would be based on guidelines that are set by HUD. And so we envision that on a first-come, first-served basis, a person could make application to our program that would be established to provide assistance up to $10,000 in the form of a grant.
Mr. Manager.
Yes, sir. Mr. Sharp, this also would require a public hearing in front of the redevelopment commission?
Right, well, we were looking at our process from previous times, sir, and it would actually, we would recommend that it come before council, but it would be considered by the redevelopment commission in the form of a recommendation to council.
And so with that, if there are any additional unmet needs beyond the ones that Victor mentioned tonight, or if council has an interest in seeing some additional programs beyond the ones that we identified for owner-occupied, if you would let us know that as well, then when he is writing the substantial amendment, we can try to make sure that we include those items as well if they are applicable and can be done within the constraints of his CDBG funding. But as he also mentioned in the memo, there are some general fund dollars as well there, which may give us some greater flexibility. But we will be having a public hearing in front of council, and that's an opportunity to also vet the program as Victor outlined it. But if there are other interests that you have, if you could let us know that as well before he writes the amendment that would go come before you and then eventually would go to HUD.
Prior to that public hearing.
Yes, sir, that would
like
be
to
helpful.
have the whole plan laid out with the criteria and the requirements.
Okay.
First questions from Councilmember Wright.
I have a concern because we're looking out for owner-occupied and renters as well, and we have some good programs in place for that. But I have several, complaints and people feeling bad about owners of properties, and it seems like the owners are left hanging, and these people own properties, maybe businesses, small businesses, or duplexes, in that nature, and they're taking care of the renters in there, but the owner, it seems like they can't do anything. If they're on hard times and you're getting a small business loan from SBA, which is like maybe 4 to 6% interest, for some that's not a low interest when they're already struggling. So my question is, what can we do to consider owners that may be left out to dry? Because there's really no programs I can see that is in place other than owner-occupied or renters, and that goes from the whole spectrum. I know that it has to be some type of limitations because you have owners that own big hotels, owners that own townhouses and things of that nature, but like for the small business owner, the small owners that own small properties, if we're concerned about rebuilding the city and we're concerned about reestablishing those small businesses, I think we need to look at something to put something in place, because a lot of them didn't have flood insurance, and then a lot of them don't qualify for FEMA. So, if the renter leaves that occupied place because the owner cannot repair it, then we're going to be left with a lot of blight all across the city. So I think it's important that we really look at this and try to find out if there's anything we can do for the small business owner.
Thank you, Mr. Colvin.
This is a good point, Councilman Wright. I know when we initially talked about this right after this tragedy, and we had a briefing from FEMA which said that basically their main objective is to get a safe and sanitary environment, but not to necessarily restore you to being whole. And there's been countless people that talked about, FEMA's not guaranteed that if you don't meet certain criteria, if you didn't have flood insurance, it's the last form of payment. So I guess you're going to bring back the particulars to us as to what the procedures look like and who qualifies and if they have exhausted all the other means. My question is, what is the turnaround time of this? Because, people are at a critical point now. So give me a proposed timeline on which you'll bring this back so that some action can be taken.
So that's why we really want to get feedback from council as to exactly what you would like to see. And so we just use this as a way to move us forward. We're hoping that we can bring back to you for a public hearing your November 28th meeting for council to decide. Once that decision is made, we will process that and have that sent to HUD within that week for their approval.
So with the urgency of it, you don't think you can get it in before the second meeting in November?
No, sir. There is even with the expedited waiver that we're requesting from HUD, that will be 10 days. And so rather than having 30 days that's required, we're requesting a 10-day public comment period for this process, and that builds in 10 extra days. Yes, sir.
Mr. Crisp.
Mr. Mayor, Mr. Sharp, I got 8 families displaced that were renters in reasonable cost housing. You heard the lady tonight over in Creek's Edge. And I voiced the same sentiment as Councilman Wright. She would like to get those people back in those apartments, but she can't do it. She doesn't have the money. And in the meantime, we got 8 families that have been displaced. How are we going to help bona fide property owners who are not residents of their own property? For example, these 8 families over there, and you heard the young lady appeal to us tonight. Can we build something into this program to help situations like that? Because we're stuck with 8 families that are displaced, Mr. Mayor. We need to find a way. Thank you, Mr. Shaw.
Mr. Chris, I think the issue that we'll be dealing with is the funding that is available. So we're just trying to, the fact that we are dealing with HUD funds, trying to follow as close as possible their guidelines. But the issue will be is the funding that we have, that council makes available to carry out this task.
Thank you, Mr. McDougal.
Mayor, is all of that 900,000 is not HUD funded, is it?
It's not, no, sir.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Victor, while I hear the concerns of my council people, and I'm along the same lines, and there may be one of the differences is these are profit-making businesses to me, in my mind, and we should not be just giving them a 100% gift. Now, it may be that some loan program or loan venture can be set up for them, out of some other funds other than CBG. I don't know. Secondly, I'm concerned about people gouging. I mean, I know we hate to think about that, but some folk, I may have gotten $30,000 from FEMA to repair $30,000 worth of work. Then all of a sudden they know about all these other pieces. Then they come running. They want 10 from you because they know that's your limit. What do we build? Are we going to build something in the system to make sure that we look at what they might have gotten from someplace else? And
right, we will. The purpose of one of the requirements that HUD has is that there's not a duplication of benefits. Okay. So we will take a look at what they would have received from insurances from FEMA in terms of the whole picture of our providing assistance.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Devier.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. A couple things, Victor, and thanks for getting this together in a timely manner for us. I know it's of interest for us to try to move something forward. The $200,000 that came back, what would that have gone to?
It would have gone to a 48 unit affordable housing multifamily.
But they didn't receive the tax credit, so therefore that money came back to us. So what was it going to be applied to?
We were we really hadn't made a recommendation. That we learned that information late this summer, but we were going to come back with some type of proposal. Actually, I do remember now, we were actually going to recommend that it be used for the target area revitalization until this happened.
And who will oversee and administer this program? Will it be your department?
Our staff, yes,
Your
sir.
staff?
Yes, sir.
With no additional staff?
No, sir.
Okay. The last question, along the lines of what some of the council members have said, is there a way, and I know you'll think through it, of how we're taken care of, and I don't know if you craft it in a way that it's low income, housing, so I get that it's an investor, as Mayor Pro Tem, or as Councilmember McDougal said, they're an investor, but they're also providing low-income housing in our community. I don't know if we craft it around there, whether they're HUD eligible or somewhere, and we find a way. If we look at helping that population, if we can do it in a way that we're affecting people that are providing low-income houses to our citizens.
Right, so if we did go that route for any of the home or CDBG funds, the tenant would have to be eligible income-wise in order to in order for the home property owner to receive assistance. So that would come into play.
Okay, so you're saying, so any homeowner in this is going to have to meet the criteria?
Either if we were to go the route to assist investor owners.
No, just direct homeowners.
That would be income-based.
Income-based?
Yes,
Okay.
meeting HUD guidelines.
And if we go with investment properties, we'd have to meet the same guidelines for the tenants?
For the tenant,
Correct.
not the owner, but for
Okay,
the
so that would provide some guidelines to make sure that we're investing in the areas that we need to invest in.
That would be consistent with the purpose of home and CDBG funding, yes, sir.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Mr. Deviere. Oh, I'm sorry, Mr. Arp.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So Victor, I hear that we're gonna do it by criteria as established by HUD.
Yes, sir.
And so $907,000, what kind of administrative costs are associated that will be borne in that total amount?
Well, we will use existing staff, and so basically we have a person that would do the intake, a client would fill out the application. We'll have one of our existing staff now that takes application would review those, and our existing housing rehabilitation specialists would oversee those jobs.
So my question is basically this, and I just did some rough math when you gave us the numbers, about $907,000. If it's up to 10,000, and are we anticipating 10,000 per home? That's kind of the rough number?
I mean, that would be a good estimate just to be
Okay.
safe.
Then we're really talking about the ability to impact 90 homes.
Correct.
Okay, and that's what I wanted to make sure. If the administrative cost, that's how many homes we're looking at we'll be able to impact, it's about 90.
Yes.
Okay. All right, good. Thank you.
Mr. Moan.
Oh, thank you, Mr. Sharp. Of the 900 roughly thousand, the 258K of general fund, that's the fund we have a little more flexibility on, where we don't have to follow the exact HUD guidelines. Is that a true statement?
That would be correct, yes, sir.
So we got about 258 that council can do with, with staff's good recommendations, whatever we want, to help some of these targeted property owners some of you were mentioning. So I just wanted to confirm that 258 is a little more flexible.
Mr. Moan, one of our thoughts about that would be how we would possibly be able to, I guess, administer that and be fair in terms of how we would actually do that. Right now, we do know that we have limits that wouldn't require us to have to make any types of judgment calls in terms of, who would be able to be assisted as opposed to who wouldn't. All of the programs would be on a first come, first serve basis, and when we run out of funding, of course, we're out. But we would have more structure in terms of using a guideline that will help those that have the least of income, and that is part of the reason why we are recommending to use the HUD guidelines.
All right, Mayor Pro Tem.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. With that, I'd like to move that we accept Mr. Sharp's recommendation for a substantial amendment to the 2016-2017 Annual Action Plan for the Emergency Disaster Recovery to come back with details at the November 28th meeting as proposed.
Second.
Seconded by Mr. Deviere. Oh, Mr. Moan.
Question.
Mr. Manager.
I I pushed my button.
Well, he's got them all lit up, so.
Oh,
Is there
they're
a
all-
question to the motion?
Yes, sir.
Mr. Crisp?
Mr. Sharp, you came for guidance. Have we given you sufficient guidance?
I believe so, yes, sir.
All right, thank you.
Seeing no further questions, council, I'll ask for your vote. Madam Clerk, that's unanimous. Council 9.05 is closed session. At this time, I'll entertain a motion to go into
Motion to
closed
go into
session.
closed session, Mr. Mayor.
For the purpose of economic development.
For the purpose of
and personnel
economic
matters.
development and personnel matters. Are we just gonna do it here, or are we gonna go upstairs?
No, we're going to go in the Lafayette.
We're going to the
We'll resume session, council, and go to you for a motion.
A motion to adjourn.
There you go.